to the Freedom Nation podcast with Jeff Kickle. On this show, Jeff shares his expertise in financial and retirement planning from a different perspective. Planning for your Freedom Day, which is the first day that you wake up and have enough income or assets and do not have to go to work that day. Learn how to calculate what you need, how to generate income sources, and listen to interviews from others who've done it themselves. Get ready to experience your own Freedom Day.
Hello, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff here, and we're coming into the last part of the year and really starting to talk about, your next year as far as what you're going to do to get yourself to your own Freedom Day. And one of the things we've talked about has been your freedom engine, which you're going to choose to help yourself get out of debt and then create that freedom in your life. So as we start to talk about that, we need to understand when we're choosing a freedom engine, especially if it's going to be a business, we need to understand who the people are that you serve. And really those people can be broken into three areas. And we call that the three markets or desires. So when I started, this was a term that was coined by Russell Brunson. Russell is the founder of ClickFunnels. I've learned an immense amount from him. I continue to follow him to this day. He makes the most sense to me. And, I've used this in my businesses. I've used this to help myself grow and my businesses to grow over time. One of the challenges that I had years ago when my business, the current business that I'm sitting in the middle of today, the co-working business, my marketing people kind of all left on me at one time and left kind of a situation where I didn't have a very good understanding of marketing. And this was beginning about the time that team was leaving, because I started challenging some of the things that they were doing and realizing that we weren't really getting much result out of money that we were spending and out of a lot of the social media advertising we were doing. And I decided to really educate myself on marketing. Now, I come from a marketing background. I started in advertising as a copywriter out of college, but ended up going into the financial services industry, and marketing kind of fell on the back, on the wayside. It really wasn't until I ended up founding my financial firm and also, having a co-working space, not really having a marketing staff, I really had to educate myself fast. And that was one of the situations where I found Russell Brunson, started reading some of the books that he offers. One of the books that I read is a book called Expert Secrets. He's got 3: .com Secrets, Expert Secrets, and now Traffic Secrets. So it's a trilogy of books that kind of take you from, basic understanding of marketing or digital marketing to how to be an expert and how to really hold yourself out as an expert, and then how to fill your funnels, your sales funnels with your ideal customers, which is the Traffic Secrets book. So, when I started to look at marketing, I really needed to understand who the people were that I was marketing to. And one of the frameworks that Russell teaches is the framework of the three markets or desires. And so that falls into three categories. So if you can imagine three circles, one circle would be wealth, the other is health, the other is relationships. And all things that you are doing from a marketing perspective are going to fall into one of those categories. That is going to be the primary category, and you want to advertise or market specifically that way. I'll give you a really good example of this. Back in the day when this was all started, there were a lot of competitors out there. There were a few competitors and a lot of big players in these three core markets. One of the interesting ones is you see the change of a company like Gillette. If you look at Gillette advertising from the early 1930s and 40s, it was really focused around, hey, getting a clean shave, everything like that. So it would fall really in more of the health arena. And if you look at Gillette advertising today, you'll see, the man shaving, and then next thing the wife comes in and they go out on the town and she's kind of hugging on him and he's hugging on her and they're going out to dinner and all that. There's absolutely nothing to do with health. It's all about relationships. So you can see how a brand can kind of change itself up over time, depending on what's kind of the norm at that time, or what they want to, where their audience is going, what their audience is wanting. So, back in the day when there were very few advertisers, they could easily be in those different markets and, really be able to succeed in those markets. And then what's happened over time is those markets got very saturated and advertisers started to break down into what we would call submarkets. So in the wealth arena, you might see, financial planning, you might see retirement planning, you might see real estate, even into the point of marketing, and then, really looking at different ways of marketing things. And people started to move into those arenas. So somebody might be teaching a marketing course, helping people learn how to be better marketers in general. From that point on, though, those markets got saturated, and there's a book written called The Blue Ocean Strategy. And the real idea of that is you as a business owner trying to find your blue ocean. And what that means is that area where you can dominate out there. So you have what are considered blue markets, meaning ones where you're kind of the lone player or you're the biggest player out there and everybody else is kind of off in other areas. And then you have red oceans or red markets. And that's where, the sharks come in and you've got a ton of people competing for the same customers. And that becomes a red market. There's kind of blood in the water with the sharks. So you want to be able to look at your situation and say, okay, what kind of a market am I in? Is this really saturated? Is this a market that I, as my submarket, is it an area where I can really dominate? Or is there one key player that's in that market that we would call a category leader? And then the rest of us, that category leader owns, let's say, 80% of the market. And the rest of us are fighting for 20 to 30% of that market. And it becomes very, very thin, very difficult to compete in those markets. So you've got to really analyze where you're at and then look at, okay, is this the best sub-market for my business right now? So I might be in the wealth category, and I'm talking about real estate, and how do I differentiate myself from everybody else talking about real estate? Well, from that point on, you have what are called the niches. And so the niches are, getting it to that next degree. So in the real estate arena, so our main category, our main market is wealth. Our submarket is real estate. But inside of real estate, you might have real estate for new home buyers. You might have real estate for investors. You might have real estate for flippers, for people that flip real estate on eBay. You can get just absolutely minute into that category inside those niches. But once you do, the way I always explain it to people is the riches are in the niches. Once you start to discover those opportunities, and you can discover that, well, heck, if I do a category or a keyword search for real estate for women, or even real estate for divorced women, well, maybe there's not a whole lot of people that are doing a lot of education at that point. They're not really explaining what's going on for women, that are divorced and how they can still buy a house, or, younger women who are buying their first home. You can really focus on that category if that's who you feel you serve best. So as you're looking at your business opportunity, you want to look at it from the lens of, okay, what market am I going into? So let's say you decide, well, I want to get into real estate. Real estate's doing really well right now. I want to get into real estate. and you say, well, I want to get into real estate. Well, that's the submarket of the wealth category that you're in. The challenge that you have is there's a ton of other people that are floating around there in that submarket, all competing for the same clients, and it's a very difficult thing. So what you want to look at is there some type of customer or client that you feel like you serve better than anybody else? And that would allow you to create products and services specifically for that category. So maybe you have a desire and a love for working with new home buyers. Well, then what can you do? How do you use that to serve those new home buyers? Looking at, all right, what do they need to know? What are the skill sets that they need? What are they desiring at that point? Can you provide something unique specifically for those people and then really dominate that market? And there may be some cases where there isn't a category for what you want to do. And that's where you can literally become the category leader. You can create your own niche underneath that submarket of real estate or that submarket of health. When you think about the submarkets of health, you can talk about diet, you can talk about exercise. Well, okay, under diet, I mean, there's things like the keto diet, the blah, 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 blah. There's 15,000 diets that fit under there. And whoever was that first person to create a category, just think about the first person to talk about keto. Well, that person really has been the dominant, most likely the dominant person in there because they created a category. So as you're doing your research for your Freedom Engine, one of the things you want to really focus on is looking at what is available out there. Is there a category for what you want to do? What is your passion? Who are the people you feel like you're called to serve? And then you want to start to look at, okay, who else is out in that market? Do a few keyword searches and see, just start to go real estate. What you can do is go into Google and type in Google real estate and then you'll see a whole list of, different categories that could be under that real estate category. And all the different keywords. So I would look through, through that list of keywords and see who's ranking in your area. And if there's not somebody that's ranking for a category in your area specifically that pops up, well, that's a really good opportunity to start to dig in and say, all right, well, who could I, how could I create a product or service? How can I design something to talk to that very specific market of people? And that's the framework that you want to start from. As you're working with all of these clients, as you're looking at your businesses and your freedom engines, you want to think of it from those very specific pieces. You want to think about, can I create a category? It may be a little bit difficult at the beginning. If you're starting your first business, you're just trying to get out there and get something going. But I would look at it and I would look at those markets that are out there and see where there's not as much opportunity. The other piece of it, though, and I think this is really critical to the overall pie of this, is you need to look at the market. You need to look at the people who are your target clients in there. Are they people who have found a market, or are the people that have money? And are they people who have an interest or a willingness to give up that money? One of my friends and one of the people that I've worked with very closely, over the last several years, is my friend Kim Stanley. And Kim, when I first met her, she had created a business for downsizing. And it was kind of loosely organized. She didn't really have a clear-cut picture of who she served, who her clients were. And part of us working together was really to sit down and say, okay, well, who is it that you serve best? Who should you be targeting? Who has both the money and is willing to part with it for your services? And it really came down to, before she was looking at really anybody who was willing to downsize their home. Could be younger people, could be older people, but she really fell into a category of really two different people. One being people who were older and really had reached that point in time where they had been in their homes for many, many years. They were looking for an opportunity to get out of their home and get into something smaller and more manageable for them, but they just didn't know where to start. So Kim had created a product specifically to help people get started and get the momentum. And that was really what, as we worked together, that she found out that she was the best at, was helping people get past that, oh my God, this is such a big job and I need help, getting started, getting some momentum, and giving them a process and a framework to work from so that they could get their house downsized, make that move and get going. And that's what's helped her to really grow a very, very successful business now. And it was not an overnight success. Everybody thinks that you come up with some great idea and instantly you're an overnight success. Well, I mean, Kim was like a 10-year overnight success with her business. And, that's the way it is for everybody. There are a few lucky people that blindly stumble into something from the very beginning, but most of us slog along for a little bit until we get to the point where we're actually successful in our business. So that's what you need to work on. That would be, as you're looking at your freedom engines. I know you've been out there. If you've been listening to the podcast, you've been starting to think about this. You've been planning. You've been getting ready to launch some type of a freedom engine. This should help you to really determine who your market is, the desires of your market, and where you want to serve, who you want to serve in your markets. So hopefully this was helpful for you. I will include a link in the show notes page for each of those three books: .com Secrets, Expert Secrets, and Traffic Secrets. Expert Secrets is the book that I referred to that this concept came out of. It's really how to become an expert in your industry. Russell actually gives those away for free. You just have to pay shipping. I think it's like $7.95. So there is a link inside the show notes for that. I encourage you. I can find no better place to learn this than through Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels. It is phenomenal. I have learned immense amounts of information from Russell over the years, and he is very giving of that information. And I can't think of a better. I mean, most of my stuff runs off of ClickFunnels. Most of our landing pages and the front end of our sales funnels runs off of ClickFunnels because it's just a fantastic tool. So hopefully you take some time, take a look at that. I encourage you, read through Expert Secrets. Get the whole trio if you want, get the whole setup, because it is the best marketing information I've ever read. So hopefully this was helpful. Look forward to getting to the end of the year with you and getting started for next year. We're getting Freedom Nation rolling at this point and starting to get a lot of comments from you guys. Wherever you're listening to this at, make sure that you subscribe to the channel because we put these shows out 3 days a week: Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And in addition to that, we do put out a few extra little shows here and there. So it's important to be signed up. I love comments, so please share your comments. Please ask questions through the comments. We answer those through episodes. So I did have several comments through the Christmas season, and I'm kind of building those up. And I'm going to save that for the last show of this season of the show, which will be up the end of this week. So look forward to that. Thank you. I appreciate you guys every day for listening in and listening to me talk to myself sometimes. But hopefully you're learning, and I hope that this helps you to get to your Freedom Day. That's going to be our big goal for this next year, is to get you to your Freedom Day. I'm here with you. Sometimes we feel like the world is against us. Sometimes we feel there's no hope. Well, there is hope. I've done it. I'm doing it again with another business. It's a struggle and it's a fight every day to build that business, but I'm going to be there right alongside you, fighting and scratching to get that business launched, because I've got some big goals for it that will help the world and help my community and help my family members and everything else. So I hope that you hang along there with us and follow along, and hopefully we will by the end of 2022 we'll have a lot of success stories to tell. So have a great day, and we'll see you here for the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the Freedom Nation podcast. You can find us on Apple Podcasts and all the major channels. Wherever you're listening, please subscribe to the channel and leave a rating and review. If you have friends and family that could benefit from their own Freedom Day, please share with them. Finally, join Freedom Nation by following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.